And welcome to this meeting of the Swansea Bay City Region Joint Committee. We'll begin with apologies for absence first, please.
Thank you, Chair. Apologies for absence from Paul Boyle.
Okay, are there any other apologies anybody wishes to note today? If not, we'll go forward to declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest that officers or members wish to declare for today? No, none. Okay. On to the minutes of the Joint Committee from the 2nd of February 2023. I've not been notified of any amendments, but if there are any, happy to take them this morning. If not, I'm happy to move them as a true record. Could I have a seconder, please?
Happy to second, Chair.
Thank you. All those in favour? The colleagues who show. Thank you very much. Those are agreed. Two announcements this morning, both positive ones. So firstly, congratulations to colleagues in MPT and in Pembrokeshire on the successful Celtic Freeport bid. Was very pleased from a city region perspective to support that bid, and well done to colleagues in getting that one over the line, and it'll be a real boost for the region in terms of our ambitions towards developing new green technologies and becoming a national leader in green tech. So very, very pleased to see that going forward, and congratulations to colleagues there. Second one, always pleased to announce that we've been the recipients of the next tranche of money, and again can confirm that we've had our allocation received of 23 million for the year. So again, that will help in terms of supporting the spend that we've got across our live projects, and again, we remain the only region where we've got all of our projects live, which is great. So we've got real needs in terms of our spend. So well done on both of those. And we'll move now to public questions. Are there any questions from members of the public today?
No questions received, Leader.
Okay, thank you. So we'll move to our first main item, which is the project update on Pentre Owl, and welcome Sharon Burford to present and give us an update. So Sharon, over to you.
Thank you. I'll just share my screen with you because I have a very short presentation and video. So I'll just share if that's okay. Apologies,
Yes,
very large file, and it does take a moment or two to load. But I just wanted to say, you know, I'm really pleased to be here and just to share some of the milestones and some of the things that are happening in the Pentre Owl project. Can I just check, is that sharing okay with everybody?
Yeah, that's sharing fine now, thank you.
Thank you very much. So just to make the presentation a little bit shorter, what we've included in this is a very brief video overview. So with your permission, Chair, are you happy for me to share that video? Is that okay?
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Thank you. So what I, oh, excuse me, just to then, the video has given you a really good overview, hopefully, of all the different elements of Pentrawell. So the rest of the presentation today is really focusing on Zone 1. So it's this core area here, and that's the area where the city deal funding is concentrated. So can I, this slide, so what I want to do is just talk a little bit about the outputs, but primarily around the enablers for those outputs. The outputs were detailed in the video, and it's an incredibly ambitious project in terms of the job creation. It is, with the city deal elements, catalyzing those employment opportunities. Significant impact on GVA in the area, and I would say, but one of the really core things that we're doing is the range of skills opportunities. We're going to create somewhere in the region of 60 different skills opportunities. So these could be partly delivered at Pentrawell and partly catalysed by Pentrawell. And the health impact, significant. This is, Pentrawell is based in an area of significant economic and social need, and with the consequent health problems. So those are, just give you a little bit of a recap over the output. And the outputs have not really changed significantly over the duration of the project. These are the high level outputs. Output, should I say, but there are others in terms of community engagement, antisocial behaviour, etc., which but I wanted to concentrate on the main ones for today. What I did want to say, though, is in order to achieve these, we've identified two core enablers. And the enablers for us are the ability to bring partners together to work across the boundaries that they normally would interface. And I think that is really important to us. And a lot of the work that's ongoing at the moment is about going through that mapping exercise, working with our partners, bringing our partners to the table to identify those enhanced working opportunities. Excuse me. We're doing a lot of work at the moment, as you can imagine, around the education and skills. So not only what courses will be delivered at Pentrawell, but what are the courses that we need? What do we need to ensure that when we open Pentrawell, there are the right skilled people available to staff that building when it opens, but also to staff that when it's in its steady state operation. So when we bring the nursing home and the assisted living online, just ensuring that we have those skills available. And I think just on that, I think it's very key to us, that we don't destabilize the rest of the area. We will be building a very, a 120 bed nursing home, for example. What I don't want to do is attract all the staff from other nursing homes, so those nursing homes then fall over. So I think that overall staffing implications, and consequently the employment, that is really key to making Pentrawell a sustainable development. What I'm just going to do now, just for the next couple of slides, is very briefly to pick up some of the core milestones that the project has gone through. The first and really notable one of these, going to business and innovation first. One of the really core ones for us is that our strategic partnership with Cardiff University. This has brought a completely different dimension to how we've been able to work. We've been able to work across the whole area, across South Wales. But I would say that that's not to the exclusion of Swansea University and University of Wales Trinity St David's. And I think that is really important. So we have three universities working with us to deliver Pentrawell in terms of its innovation and business aspirations. That gives us a really strong partnership approach and builds on the strengths of the different of the three institutions. The other thing, so I think what we've done now over the last year or so is we've undertaken some pilot research projects. Now, what we wanted to do with these is to try out some of our proof of concept so that we have a known structure that we can deliver benefits when we become more, you know, in the bigger operational sense. So if I can just give you one example of that. We secured £24,000 worth of private investment through Cardiff University to undertake a oxygen trial. So this was a hyperbaric oxygen chamber that was bought as part of this. But what we wanted to test with this was, could we work with the health board to identify patients that would be suitable for this trial? Could we then evidence the outputs of this trial? Did we have that sufficient structure in place on a relatively low risk basis? And that's the proof of concept that we've gone through in that instance, and it's worked really well. We've even got the Scarlets involved. I do realise other rugby teams apply, but you know, we've got the Scarlets involved in that as well, and that's really quite an interesting public sector, health board, private sector, academic partners pathway that we developed there. I would say, though, I do need to emphasise, though, how important Trinity St David's is to us, and how important Coleg Sir and other higher education and other further education providers are really key to this, because we also want to focus in terms of our education pathways. But I'll just one last thing on business and innovation, if that's possible, and that's to say that we've now undertaking a really detailed mapping exercise, bringing partners together so we can look for more and enhanced opportunities for research and innovation. Just, you know, I've touched a bit upon the education milestones that we've achieved. For education, we've got an MOU with University of Wales Trinity St David's, and they are leading on our skills delivery. Another mapping exercise here, looking at opportunities in the job opportunities and what courses we need to provide within Pendrawl to meet those job opportunities. So a really extensive mapping exercise underway here with the Regional Skills and Learning Partnership and with the City Deal Skills and Talent. In terms of clinical delivery, we have had huge engagement with Hywel Dda University Health Board. They all through the project, and particularly through pre-construction as well. And they are our absolute core anchor tenants. Without, you know, the Health Board's presence is amazing and a really significant factor for us, both in terms of the clinical delivery that they'll provide on site, but also in terms of their research and their clinical engineering expertise. And that's all built into our innovation network. I think just to touch very briefly on some of the construction milestones, though. So we have a contract with Bouygues UK, and we've undertaken all the enabling works on site. But February this year, we entered into the formal construction contract with Bouygues, and construction started immediately. And in March, we had the Secretary of State joined us for a groundbreaking event. It is anticipated and it is scheduled that we will have sectional completion for education in September 24. This is just of the Zone 1 building now. Sectional completion in September 24 to align with the academic terms, and completion of the whole of Zone 1 by October 24. It's a really ambitious timeline, but I'm pleased to say at the moment, I think we're a week ahead, something like that. So fingers crossed, it continues. Just before, this is basically my last slide. I just want to pick up a couple of other things, and these are some things that I just wanted to highlight, and that is our community benefits. And so the small picture there just gives you an example. We have, with WEAG, identified school ambassadors. This was the launch of the School Ambassador Programme. This is in Ysgol Penrose, which is for young people under the age of 11. And these young people have volunteered to be our ambassadors for Pentrawa. And really exciting. We asked them for their ideas and what they thought, should be, what could the benefits be of Pentrawa? And they were amazingly engaged with the scheme. Their school is just at the back of the site. A lot of work has gone on with Penrose around more proof of concepts around working with education. So we've had, environmental projects running with them as well, which has been absolutely fantastic piece of work. Community benefits are incredibly important to this entire scheme. We recognise the volume of public money that's coming into this scheme, and therefore, since tender stage, we have really focused on community benefits and pushing that limit of community benefits as far as we can. Now we're in construction, we are really upping the quantitative assessment of the community benefits. Up to this point, it's been to a certain extent the softer side around community, around education, more of the qualitative engagement, but recognising now we're in construction, now we're focusing on the job creation, the supply chain. Huge amount of work going on in terms of monitoring what we do in terms of subcontracting and engaging with local subcontractors. The other thing, just two very brief other points. We've also done a lot of work around the Welsh Language Action Plan and impact assessment. We've prepared a really detailed piece of work around the impact Pentrawa can have on the Welsh language in county. We've worked closely with the council's policy team, but also with Cymdeithas. And I think we've been very mindful of our impact. And I think that goes through to a number of other factors. I spoke before about the impact on the care sector, for example, and not destabilising that. So we are very conscious of the size of Pentrawa in the county and its potential negative as well as positive impact. Last thing I wanted to say is Zone 2 and Zone 3. We are, so the assisted living, nursing care, the continuum of care, very important to us in terms of the opportunity that affords our business and innovation, and the creation of that living laboratory of innovation and opportunities. Companies are really excited about the potential of working with us to look at the adoption of technology within our assisted living areas. I'm going to leave it there. And I know, yeah, okay, sorry, Chris is coming in now. I'll stop sharing if that's okay.
Yeah, before I bring Chris in, Sharon, if I just say thank you for the presentation, been really helpful to see the update and certainly very ambitious construction timeline that you've outlined there. So I'll bring Chris in next. Chris?
Okay, yeah, thanks, Chair. Working with this scheme has actually sort of given me exposure to actually being a little bit closer to some of the figures, which is certainly been the case with all the other schemes, I think, across the region. And perhaps what's not apparent from the report, but certainly what is apparent to the County Council, is that the construction costs over the last year in terms of negotiation and getting to the final point, we've had a drift of about £9 million. Now that drift has been significant, The County Council has had to address it because the importance around the timeline and that 9 weeks construction has been vital in terms of ensuring our partners on board. And we have addressed that through the County Council, but it has actually meant that the County Council has had to reprioritise some of their delivery priorities within the County Council as a whole. And I think this is, something that I know is hitting North Wales growth deals, and it's hitting other projects within the region. And I think, it's probably appropriate, and I know we've discussed and we've had informal reports on the construction drift, but I think it's probably as all the projects now are over the line, it's probably appropriate that we do highlight it more formally. And whilst actually I'm not aware that it's jeopardizing any project at the moment, I think some support from other external parties is something that we probably should be looking for. And I do wonder whether we ought to consider sort of raising it more formally going forward, that the impact over the last 12 months, what that's had on all projects and the delivery of the County Council. So I just wanted to raise that. I'm highlighting it on the back of Pentrewell because I'm very aware of the figures and I'm very aware of what the process I've had to sort of advise the County Council to go through. But I think it's something that we're all suffering, and I think we all need to possibly consider and have a conversation in joint committee about how we take it forward and whether we raise it in a wider environment. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Chris. Go to Darren next. Councillor Price.
Thanks, Rob. Yeah, first of all, I just want to say a massive thank you to Sharon and the team for the incredible amount of work that's gone on with regards to this project over a number of years now. I know that everybody around this screen and people who aren't here at the moment, have contributed significantly to the range of projects that we're trying to deliver in South West Wales. It's no joke. There's a huge amount of work that's gone on in the background, and I'm really pleased with the progress that we're seeing in Carmarthenshire, particularly with regards to Pentrewell. It was a pleasure to be there in the groundbreaking event last month when Brig started work on Zone 1, as Sharon mentioned. This is a hugely significant investment for Llanelli and the county, not just in terms of GVA uplift and job creation, but also, as Sharon mentioned, the social and health impact as well. So we're really excited by it, and I just want to put on record really my thanks as leader for the work that officers are putting in the background. Picking up on the point that Chris mentioned, clearly the reality that we're all facing here in terms of the inflationary cost in terms of construction, I think it's really important that we address that. Clearly, as a county council, we've committed to progressing with the scheme because of the significance for the county. There's absolutely no way we could roll back on that commitment. But I think that engagement with both the UK and Welsh Government is really important for us as a council. And I'd move formally, Chair, that with your acceptance, that we do that as a joint committee, clearly in your name as Chair, but I would be happy to co-sign that, and I'm sure that other leaders would be prepared to do that as well. But just to formally propose that then in moving forward. Diolch yn fawr. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Darren. Councillor Hunt, Steve, next.
Yeah, thanks, Rob. I certainly agree with what Darren said and would be happy to support him on his recommendation. Sharon, could I just ask one quick question, if I may? Yeah, it's a very exciting project, and congratulations to the authority and all those involved. Very innovative project as well. There's a lot in there. I noticed you picked up twice or three times on the real dangers of the displacement of jobs. And I noticed you mapping exercises and working with, the universities and so forth. In reality, because this is I'm always a realist, is that this exciting project with the conditions and pays, whatever they may be at the time, will attract those who are already qualified, skilled, probably to that area. So the displacement could quite easily happen. So what my question really is what you're doing. Obviously, it'll take a while to progress the project to its final stages. What you're doing as to mitigate, quickly or as quickly as you can to train, skill up, or whatever's necessary to have the market force in place to sustain all the areas. So we see this already right across Wales in many different places, and certainly in councils as well, as I'm sure my colleagues and leaders will confirm, to recruit and sustain employment when the jobs, there's probably more jobs than the skilled people to take up the jobs out there already. So I just wondered, in between all of this exciting news, which it is, mind you, I'm aghast by it. I think it's absolutely amazing for that region. But I just wondered the planning in between all of that to make sure that any detrimental effects do not occur, or you mitigate them to the best of your ability. That's all. Thank you, Rob.
Okay, thank you, Steve. Sharon, I know you did cover a bit of that in the presentation. Did you want to just answer the point?
Yes, I think, we've been challenged on this at Councillor Hunt from the day we put the business case into Welsh Government and into UK Government. We had a meeting in Cardiff before the business case was approved, when the whole issue of displacement and skills readiness was raised by the Treasury. And I think what I would say is we're in a really strong position in some respects to having this exciting network of academic providers working with us. And I've mentioned some of the ones, the 3 universities and Coleg Sir Gar, but I would say we are also working with Pembrokeshire College and Gower College, so that we can try and preempt some of these skills questions that you've raised. So we are working and being very mindful of the role of the private sector. So where there are, for example, private sector providers of nursing homes, we have engaged with them. And what the conversation then is about how do we work with the whole of the system to help to upskill. Can we use the nursing home at Pentre Awel, for example, as a way that private providers can put people into Pentre Awel for some training? And we're trying very hard not to create that destabilization effect, realizing that people will gravitate to the new swishiest buildings. But it is a really conscious effort working across all the partners, and I think that's where we're starting from. We have done, and I'm happy to share this if it's of interest. We've mapped every skill that Pentre Awel is going to need. Absolutely everyone, from lifeguards through to the GPs, the physios, the pharmacists. We've mapped out, and a tremendous amount of work done by the City Deal Skills and Talent guys on this as well. And we've mapped that. And what we've done is look at where current provision occurs, where there is a gap in terms of capacity or a complete gap in terms of actual course provision. And we're working through that now. Admittedly, the time is going, and I think we're all, we do realise there's only one more academic year for some of this, but that's the way we've done. So we've done quite a lot of work, for example, as well with the Health Board. We've looked at where the skills gaps are in the Health Board and how we can look at filling those gaps. Hywel Dda Health Board has a huge issue around optometry and services in general. So we've actually done an approach. We're working with Cardiff University about developing a teach and treat facility for optometry, and that's. So it's that network. So we do know we're going to need X number of care workers to staff that nursing home on day one. We know how long that is likely to be. But I'm more than happy to share some of that course mapping. It is, if anyone is interested, and you can see how we've tried to bring in other partners as well. Or all partners, actually, everybody.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Thank you, Sharon. Yeah, thank you, Sharon. And I add my thanks to those of colleagues for the work that's being done. I take a little bit of reassurance, actually, that even though it's a really impressive development, in terms of the social care market across Wales, it's not going to be as disruptive as I think perhaps we would be concerned about, given the challenges across Wales for care staff. But very happy as well to take up the mantle of pushing both governments for some assistance in terms of any cost pressures we are seeing in terms of the projects. We've been encouraged from day one to get our deal underway. We have 9 projects live, and we're taking the risk in terms of delivering early, which is, you look around the UK and there are still deals that were signed well before ours that have not got the level of projects live that we've got. So we've basically come through in terms of our commitment, and I think it's only right that we go back to the government and ask them if they are able to help to do so. So I'm very happy to pick up that challenge and to provide the letter back. So Sharon, thank you again for the update on Pentrawl. Very, very helpful. If everybody's happy, then this one was just for information and noting. We'll move on then to item 7, which is the update on the portfolio business case, and I'll welcome Ian. Ian, if you'd like to take us through.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, everyone. This is now the 4th iteration of the portfolio business case. It's the strategic business case for the City Deal portfolio. It's also the basis for the investment decision from government and acts as a trigger for the release of the next drawdown of City Deal funding. So the full document is in your packs. It's 105 pages plus appendices, so it's quite a weighty document these days. Basically, I'll cover this morning the information contained in the executive summary to the business case. Just to highlight, there's been changes throughout the document, although the changes are more reflective of the progression of the projects, the challenges of the current economic conditions, and the maturing of governance arrangements, rather than any fundamental changes to the makeup or viability of the business case. In terms of an overview, just some headline points really. It remains valid and impactful and in line with the original heads of terms of the City Deal. All partners are committed to delivering the headline business cases and realising the benefits. The portfolio is experiencing delivery slippage and consequential financial slippage as well. However, delivery is progressing despite the challenging economic conditions, notably the increased construction costs and inflationary pressures that we've already heard about. Benefits are starting to be realised and will accelerate as the portfolio moves further into delivery. As required, the business case is presented according to the Treasury 5-case model. What I'll do, Chair, if it's okay, is just run through quickly each of the cases and just pick out the main changes and some pertinent points as well, if that's okay.
Yeah, that'd be great, Ian. Thanks.
Thank you. The strategic case, firstly, then that demonstrates the strategic alignment of the portfolio and its need. The main changes there's updated information on how it aligns with UK, Welsh and regional policies, such as levelling up, net zero strategies, the innovation strategy, the regional energy strategy. There's many more. The Celtic Freeport initiative as well. There's several more, but that's just an example of some. It reflects the prominence of the net zero carbon agenda. So it now includes information relating to the carbon reduction assessment, which was undertaken on the portfolio activities. It also includes mention of the establishment of the South West Wales Corporate Joint Committee and the publication of the draft CJC corporate plan as well. It includes acknowledgement of the challenging economic conditions, including the increased inflationary pressures and the impact on project delivery. And this, of course, is on the back of Brexit and COVID and the consequences of those events as well. The risk section for the strategic case has been updated with the current portfolio red risks and issues. In the economic case, the good news is there's little change here. Each of the constituent projects continue to demonstrate value for money for the public pound through their economic appraisals. The impact of the portfolio remains unchanged, with an estimated £2.4 billion contribution to GVA and over 9,600 jobs during the life term of the portfolio, which exceed the original heads of terms. The commercial case is reflective of the portfolio now being in full delivery. There's updated information on the procurement principles to include examples of how the projects and programs are meeting those principles. There's details on key procurements to date. So far, 286 million has been procured, with another 123 million planned for the next 12 months. There's an updated procurement pipeline included, together with inclusion of construction cost assessment as well, measuring the impact of inflationary pressures, but also the mitigation across the portfolio against those pressures. There's updated information on community benefits as well being delivered through the portfolio. Some impressive results coming through there as well. In terms of the financial case, it continues to demonstrate affordability across the portfolio. As the project funding packages are being finalised and secured, there's updated funding and investment information. So the portfolio is now demonstrating investment at £1.247 billion. It's slightly increased from last year, and it's broadly in line with the heads of terms in investment that was envisaged. There's updated income, expenditure, and cash flow forecasts. Updated information on grant drawdown from governments. It's now at 100 million, with the latest 23 million pound coming in, as we already shared this morning. The portfolio is showing a budget slippage in the current financial year from the previous year, but there's no effect on the total outputs, investment, or the benefits coming through or being reported for the portfolio as a whole. And finally, onto the management case. The changes here are reflective of the maturing of the portfolio and the delivery arrangements in place. There's been adoption and rollout of the Soloxis P3M software in the monitoring and reporting of activity for the programs and projects. There's updated monitoring and evaluation information, and an updated M&E plan, dashboard presentation, and current information on risks, issues, benefits, and financial monitoring. There's approved independent assurance arrangements included in the assurance framework, as well as those for business case development as well. And there's updated portfolio delivery roadmap for all the programs and projects. That's it in a kind of nutshell, Chair, but there's a lot more detail behind it. So I'd like to offer, if anybody does want a more detailed briefing, then just contact me, and that's available on a one-to-one basis. It's presented for approval, and then to be submitted to government. There'll be a follow-up presentation with the joint Welsh Government, UK Government board, which usually happens in June. John and Chris attend that on behalf of the City deal. Happy to take any questions at all.
Yeah, thank you, Ian. Thank you very much for that run through. Really, really helpful. And as you've outlined, a very good position remains. Okay, I've got Councillor Hunt. Steve, do you want to come in?
Yeah, thanks, Rob. Only a very quick one, Ian. Firstly, I will admit I haven't read the 400 pages. You'd be surprised to hear. Just very quickly, I asked you before when I first became lead and I joined this committee, and it's all in the report. And as you said, I don't know what you're going to give us if it's a more detailed report, because fair play to you, they've done a lot of work here, and I thank you for that. The projects themselves, the slippages and delivery, are they on track to be delivered as they were first planned? Or have there been calculations in a way that maybe they needed to be adjusted to meet the funding that is still available in that way? It's just, as an observation. I think Jonathan, he was the first gentleman I asked that question to when I went down to Rob Stewart's chamber there. So that's all I wanted to know is where we are, because we all know the ongoing costs of projects and labour and materials. Thank you, Rob.
Okay, thank you, Steve. Ian or John, do you want to pick that up?
Well, John's hand came up very, very keenly, so I'll leave that to John to answer, I think.
Ian's
John?
more than capable of answering it, but I think there's a context. So, Councillor Hunt, you're absolutely right. There is slippage. In Q4 last year, Q3, sorry, last year, we reprofiled based on what we knew at that point. Now, we know that we've slipped further. So what I think we need to do, and it has to go through governance, but you kind of ruined the kind of spoiler alert type thing, but hopefully in Q1 of this financial year, we'll go through Programme Board and Joint Committee to reprofile and try and get more accurate forecasting, at least from now till 2027. But what we've also done, we've met with all of the senior responsible owners for all of the projects and gone through where we believe we are for reality, in terms of construction costs and also time and what slippage is involved. So I think we need to do another reprofile this financial year as soon as we can into it, so that we are working to a more accurate forecast. But you're spot on in your kind of observations, and everything that we have in the portfolio is committed, and everybody is delivering towards their targets and what they're aiming to achieve. But we do know, as Chris Moore said earlier on, that there is a funding gap on quite a lot of projects, particularly around the infrastructure construction related items and the slippage, as you've highlighted. Ian, do you want to add anything to that beyond what I've said?
I think that's comprehensive. That's John. Thank you.
Thank you both. And yeah, I mean, look, the challenges we're seeing on City Yield projects are no different to projects across Wales that all partners are delivering, and it's the reality of having high levels of inflation which are impacting prices for both labour and materials. So, okay, thank you, folks. What we'll do then, this one is for agreement. So if I could ask, I'm happy to move the update. Could I have a seconder, please?
Happy to second, Chair.
Thank you. And if I could ask local authority colleagues as well, if they could show whether they're in approval. Thank you very much. That is agreed. So thank you, Ian. I appreciate the update. We'll move now to our last item for the day, which is the portfolio highlights report. And I'll hand over to Phil to take us through the update in terms of where we are on the various projects. Phil, over to you.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, the full highlight report is obviously in the pack, so I'll go through the kind of highlights of the highlights, if you like, just to ensure that we're covering the more important elements of the report. So if I just run through those project by project. The Swansea Waterfront Digital District, the hotel aspect of the waterfront, WG panel has now approved in principle the use of the funding, the funding proposal. So that's good news. We should start seeing the movement now on the development of the pre-delivery aspects of the hotel. And in relation to the innovation matrix, part of the waterfront programme run and led by Trinity St David University, it started on site on March the 6th. And that again is good news. It's another project in physical delivery now, and is moving forward. And we're in discussions with the university in regards to the innovation precinct, which is the second part of their delivery element of the waterfront programme. Digital infrastructure project have completed benefits realisation for 21-22, which confirms a significant public and private sector investment in the region. Those figures will be reported formally by the digital project and their board in the next month or two. They're going to amalgamate the first 2 years of their delivery because of timing more than anything. So again, we started to see the benefits across the portfolio now, not just in the physical buildings being delivered and occupied, but in the actual other aspects of the portfolio as well. PDM project in Pembroke Dock, the PDI lots 1 and 2A construction works are now underway, and the Pembroke Dock demonstration zone PDZ, the WEFO co-funding and CC targets have been met. So again, that's a positive step because, as everyone would be aware, the European funding is coming to an end shortly. So we're obviously keen to ensure that all of the European funding that's been allocated to project is expended in line with the anticipation, and that's another one ticked off the list. The HAPS project contract has been awarded in relation to the capturing the baseline activities for the supply chain across the region. And the technical monitoring and evaluation contract has also been awarded. So again, that's a couple more procurements there, and specifically with regards to the supply chain activity, that's a pressure lifted because the supply chain resource was one of the issues previously reported in relation to HAPS. So that's now been resolved by way of that contract award. Low carbon growth program. The Baytech Centre has been completed for a number of months now. We've got 3 tenants at the time of writing. It may be a fourth now. There was 3 tenants on site and a fourth imminent. So again, that's positive news. We're seeing people starting to utilise the infrastructure that's been built. And obviously we'll keep updating that on a quarterly basis through the benefits realisation. The Switch project has received 3 high-quality tenders following a recent tender activity pre-Christmas, and I believe the letter of indemnity is now signed, and the winning contractor will be announced imminently. And the final update for low carbon is that the Property Development Fund, which I think we've previously reported as being oversubscribed in what it could potentially release, has moved from stage 1 to stage 2 now, with a number of promising applications and final decisions to be announced shortly. The Skills and Talent Programme had a gateway review at the start of the year, and that achieved a Green Delivery Confidence Assessment rating. Again, that's a positive news story for us. It's the external assurance from the Welsh Gov Hub teams that allows us to demonstrate that the programme is still on track to deliver its anticipated outputs and outcomes. So again, a positive story there. The Swansea University Campuses project, the main highlight there is that the funding agreement for the phase 1 of the project is at the final stages of being agreed. We may have to just review the potential impact in the time it's taken to get to this point at coming meetings, but that is good news that we're hopeful that the last minor points are now being resolved between legal parties, and that should be signed in the next month or so. Pentrowel, I won't update on Pentrowel. Obviously, Sharon's done a very detailed update today. The key point, though, was starting and commencing Zone 1 on site. So again, fantastic news that we're seeing projects physically on the ground and delivering. And then the final point from the programmes and projects within the portfolio is in relation to Eregin. The university is looking at a potentially digital production facility focused approach for the delivery of phase 2. as a complement to the phase 1 already completed. And what is proposed there is that University of Wales Trinity St David will bring an update to programme board in April, and then that can come on to joint committee in future months, just so that the committee is cited on what the potential phase 2 is going to look like by way of a delivery strategy. So I think that's the key highlights for the last sort of month and a half, Chair. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Phil. Really helpful. Are there any questions or comments for Phil on any of the updates? If not, I think it's again another positive update. So thank you, Phil, for that. I think this one was also for accepting, was it? Tracy, if you could just advise me on that one.
Yes, it was. It was for information report.
Just an information report. Okay, so no vote required. Okay, with that, colleagues, thank you all very much for your attendance, and look forward to seeing you next month. Take care, all. Bye-bye now.
Cheers,
Thank you
Rob.
all.
Have a
Bye.
nice Easter, everybody.
And you. Bye-bye.